What is the best country to live in? Kazakhstan, greatest country in the world. All other countries are run by little girls. Kazakhstan, number one exporter of potassium. Other countries have inferior potassium. Definitely not New Zealand. All of you stay away. Here's my thoughts. If you're not happy internally, then you won't be happy anywhere you run to. I hated where I lived and my life. Then I worked on myself and now I feel I'm happier than I've ever been, and I still live in the same city. YMMV. I've lived in a few countries, including a couple that are regarded as the best. My answer to this would be that it depends entirely on what you value most, and that this might not be something that can be quantified. The first foreign country I moved to was Norway, based entirely on its reputation as being the best place in the world to live. I hated it. The social support structure is fantastic there, but nobody prepared me for how boring the place was. Had I moved there looking for a bit of peace, quiet and stability, it would have been paradise. But I moved there in my late teens looking to kickstart my wild college years. And Norway was not the place to do this. After Norway, I moved to Taiwan. This would be a lot of people's idea of a nightmare. But for me, at the time, the noise and often jarring cultural differences were something I utterly craved. It was the polar opposite of Norway, and I loved the place for it. Would I recommend it to someone as a place to live? Not most people, at least. Was it the best country for me at the time? Absolutely. I left Taiwan after 5 years to continue my education. I got accepted to a university in Sweden to do a master's program. Being back in Scandinavia was as boring as I remembered. But at this time in my life, excitement was no longer the thing I prioritized. As a place to complete my education and begin a career, I don't think anywhere could have been better. I'd still not recommend it to everyone. But this time round, I was in a much better position to appreciate the stability and social support structure that the country offered. In this sense, again, it was the best country for me to live at the time. Despite this, after 4 years there, I left Sweden last month. Once I had established myself in my field, the boredom started to bother me more and more. And I started to realize that this was not how I wanted the rest of my life to look. I'm currently looking for my next, best, country to live in. And I'm being careful because hopefully this will be the last. To summarize, there is no one-size-fits-all answer to the question. I know a lot of people instinctively answer Scandinavia, Canada, New Zealand, when this question is asked. But it really isn't that simple. There are almost 200 countries in the world, and I'm sure none of them would never meet at least one person's criteria for the best place to live at some point in their life. The Netherlands. Yes, the Scandinavian countries do lots of things even better than the Dutch. But it's way too cold there. The Netherlands are located nicely in Europe. You can reach other European countries easily. The Netherlands have good education, healthcare, safety. They are probably the best country for traffic, with lots of bicycles and a good train network and fewer cars than most other first world countries. Barely anyone hates the Netherlands. You can go anywhere in the world and people will rarely ever hate you for where you are coming from. Their language sounds funny. They have great cheese. Norway, Switzerland, Finland, Denmark, New Zealand. Denmark except for the weather. Everyone who claims to be from New Zealand has either never visited or is wealthy. The cost of life is a complete joke in this place. Edit. We appreciate the upvotes. NZ is a stunning place. But like most nations, we have been used by powerful corporations who have made it nearly impossible for young people to advance, even when they work 50 hours per week. Norway. I'm probably biased, but I love living in Scotland. The climate here is gentle all year round. There's hardly any traffic except for Edinburgh, Glasgow, and the cost of living is very low compared to some other well-developed European countries. I pay far less tax than I did in NI. But I get free healthcare. Although it's struggling right now, like everywhere else. And if I had kids, they'd get free education through secondary and college and very low cost universities. Scots love to bitch about everything. But I've lived in England where traffic kills all fun and houses are more expensive. And my native Netherlands, which is far from the perfect country image that some people have of it. New Zealand is the worst country in the world. Stop moving here and brining your politics and mannerisms here. You are ruining it for us. I have never heard a single word about Latvia. Good, bad, or indifferent. Might be low-key enough to just live out my days in peace. Norway probably. I'm Swedish. Chad. Switzerland or Scandinavian countries. Canada if you can deal with weather.